just as aggressive with the basketball and do what he does. And he has great chemistry with Montrezl Harrell.
Yep.
You notice Doc Rivers also coached one Jamal Crawford, who won a few Sixth Man of the Years. To start the game, your primary ball handler, usually, you want that guy to be somebody that could get you 10 dimes if he's playing well and or 20 points while not being a liability defensively. When you bring somebody in as a substitute, you can now pick and choose the matchup and the time that you put them in to maximize their opportunity to get going really fast. And it frees up minutes for you to play other guys like Shamet, who was knocking down shots in the game. Kawhi was terrific, as you mentioned, in the fourth quarter. Montrezl Harrell continues to give effort. He was one of those guys under the radar we talked about when he was in Houston. And it was a great pickup by the Clippers. Played well then, playing well now. So the Clippers now are becoming a well-oiled machine as Paul George starts back to practice on Saturday.
The Clippers are a well-oiled machine, but they need to sort of settle their communications with the NBA. What happened is they sat Kawhi Leonard against the Bucks, and they said it was because he was injured. But then Doc Rivers went on wax and said that he was not injured. So then the league fined the Clippers $50,000, and Kawhi Leonard, in a very strange shirt, was asked about it. Let's listen to Kawhi Leonard.
What do you make of the NBA finding Doc and the Clippers?
I mean, for me, I'm on his side. You know what I mean? I'm a Clipper. He's my coach. So that's just disappointing. That it feels like they want players to play if they're not ready. But it is what it is. Like I said, I don't read into it. I got to do what's going to make me healthy and, just going to help the team be successful. And that's me, being able to play basketball games for us.
I got to do what makes me healthy. Is Kawhi Leonard healthy?
Yes. One day when we get an opportunity, can we run back some clips of when the Spurs were sending Tim Duncan and Tony Parker home on Southwest Airline planes? And everybody was keying, like, all they care about is winning championships. All that matters is who's standing in June. And I kept speaking in the microphones. As you continue to deteriorate the meaning of the regular season, players are going to do it as well. They're really intelligent. So here's what has happened. Gone are the days when the majority of the top players take pride in playing 82 games.
Gone.
Gone are those days.
Gone.
So now if you're the NBA, you're trying to market, you're trying to promote, and you're trying to sell tickets to a product that people now realize when they purchase a ticket, the marquee player might not be playing. So here's a couple of distinctions in wordplay that are going to now take place. In the Clippers statement and in the Lakers statement, you see the word injured or injury.
Yep.
That's a term that goes for a player that cannot play. Paul George is injured. Kawhi Leonard is load managing. But now that's going to be masked as recovery because he's had an injury at some point of his career.
Yep.
So now for a guy like Zion Williamson, for his entire career, they can say he's managing an injury that he's had at some point of his career. The term load management has become so taboo. It's going to be the words that the NBA tried to erase so very fast, almost like tanking, because they create a stigma that the fans will now gravitate to in a negative light.
And that's a really good point because the optics of load management aren't good for the league. So there's going to be some discussions that will be not on wax that will say, let's not use the words load management. Let's not use the word tanking. But we all know that is the best strategy to win a championship. And I'm glad you brought up Zion Williamson because it is interesting. I don't think Zion Williamson will ever play 82 games in his career. Do you?
I do not. And you and I joked on the podcast, make sure you download it wherever you download podcasts. If you're not listening to our podcast, I don't know what you're listening to.
Great plug.
And the joke that you came with is that Zion Williamson now is going to be basically playing once a week like an NFL player this year as The New Orleans Pelicans will now be in the tanking business again,
Yep.
a la Philadelphia 76ers. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded Drew Holiday in the process. This has now become the new norm in the NBA. So terms that teams have used, like load management and rest, and when the Spurs used to put old by Tim Duncan, those jokes have now become something that the fans have realized they bought tickets to not to see the marquee players. So the league is smart enough to try to remove those words from the lexicon.
Well, Kemba Walker returned to play against his former team, the Hornets, and he was received very well by the crowd there in Charlotte. Classy move from Charlotte. And the Celtics went on to win on the work of Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum. And your guy, Gordon Hayward, he had 20 and 10 and 6. It seems like Hayward is back. And Jalen, low-key, the Celtics only have one loss, and that is in that game to the Sixers that we all watched. Are the Celtics exceeding your expectations?
Not for the regular season, because I told you I felt like they had the best collection of perimeter players in the Eastern Conference. And that's including up front with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who they just gave a big deal to. And the guy you just showed, Gordon Hayward. Now think about this, Jacoby.
Yep.
You haven't seen people have more horrific injuries than Sean Livingston, Paul George, and Gordon Hayward.
Yep.
But at some point of their careers, they responded, in particularly a year after the injury.
Good point.
That's what the season is now for Gordon Hayward. And he's playing as such, with a pace, with an accuracy. He seemed like he now has found his comfort zone.